Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar, StayNTouch Cloud PMS Configuration and User Training Series, Housekeeping, presented by StayNTouch Implementation Consultant Britt DeRoy. I'm your host, Erin Fisher, the content writer here at StayNTouch. Today's presentation will cover housekeeping in StayNTouch Cloud PMS. In this webinar, we will cover the following topics: housekeeping configuration, task management, electronic task assignments, do not disturb status, and room status. We will have a short Q&A session at the end of the presentation. Feel free to submit questions throughout the presentation, and we will answer them in the order they are received at the end. And that's all I have right now. Britt, I'm going to hand the presentation over to you.
Thank you so much, Erin. I'm going to show my screen. And I'm going to move right into the back end of the system because I want to start with the configuration of our housekeeping segment, moving into our menu on the left-hand side, settings and settings again, then moving into rooms on the left-hand side again, starting with housekeeping. And in housekeeping, we can activate a certain set of statuses. And you can see from our demo property, I've already activated a few. I'm just going to walk through them to show you what they would actually do and where they would show. So we have our inspected room status, pickup status, do not disturb, and queued rooms. The inspected room status, do not disturb status, and pickup rooms will show on your housekeeping segment, so in your room statuses. And this is where you'll be able to add them to a particular or multiple rooms. The queued rooms, if you activate this toggle here, there will be a toggle in the stay card, so in the profile of the reservation, where you'll be able to activate queued rooms to put the room in queue. And whenever that has been set on the reservation will be stored in a separate tile on your dashboard under queued rooms till the moment that you actually remove the room from queue and check in the reservation. So moving into room assignment highest to lowest, this would be applicable to our automatic task assignment of rooms, which I'm going to have a look at in a minute as well. Normally it would be set from lowest to highest, but if you'd like to assign rooms automatically from highest to lowest, you would need to activate this toggle here. Scrolling down, check into inspected rooms would be activated by default once you have activated or switched this toggle to active to use the inspected room status. You could deactivate if you'd not like to allow inspected rooms to be checked in only. If you'd like to enable room status update at checkout, meaning that the system would verify with you if the room is ready or not ready, meaning if it's clean or dirty, you could activate this toggle here. Auto assigning would again be applicable to our task assignment. Normally, it would be set by default by employee, meaning that in the task assignment, you can determine the number of employees that are working today, and then the system would automatically assign according to the number of employees, or by section and time. We're going to have a look at how to create a housekeeping user, and you can add sections to users that are working on a particular section on particular rooms on a daily basis. So if you switch this to by section and time, then the system would take that into account whenever it's auto-assigning the rooms from the task management segment. Once you have activated the statuses and the settings that you'd like to apply to your property, you save the changes. I'm moving back into rooms because I want to also discuss task management, because this is where we're going to let the system know what it would need to do in terms of cleaning cycle. So from here, we'll be able to say, okay, we have these default work types, which can be activated by switching the toggle. These are linen change, turn down service, departure clean, and stay over clean. If you'd like to add additional work types, such as rooms that were not cleaned yesterday or periodic cleaning as tasks, this would be done from your work type segment here. Once you've set up the work type or activated the work type, you can scroll down and add tasks. And in these tasks, you will be able to determine to which room types they apply, how long they would take, and which interval. So you can see there's already a number of tasks added for my property, but if I would just move into any of the default tasks, meaning that these would be set to default and show according to what has been added to the rate. So there would be, whenever you're setting up a rate, you'll be able to determine the cleaning cycle. You could say, okay, for my stayover, once I've added the work type, I can determine to which room types it would apply. As this is a default work type, the system would automatically activate the parameters that are applicable to the stayover clean work type. So the reservation status, FO status, and room status would be activated by default. You would only need to set up the task interval, letting the system know when the cleaning task would need to take place. Weekdays, weekends, or both, or a custom interval, such as a weekday or a stay day. On the right-hand side, I can determine a completion time. This could be a generic time, such as 10 minutes, as set up here, or I can differentiate between different room types that apply to the work type. So for my larger rooms, I might need a bit more time than for my smaller rooms. And here's where we'll also set a completion status. So for our stayovers, we might not need to have it actually set to inspected. We just want to make sure that our housekeepers are setting it to clean whenever they have completed their tasks. So whenever you've added all of these work types, you'll be able to see them whenever you're working with the task assignment segment of the PMS. And whenever you're setting up rates, you'll be able to determine which cleaning cycle would apply to which rate. So if you have short-term cleaning cycles and long-term cleaning cycles, you'll be able to differentiate between those by setting up them from the task list here. Moving back into rooms, I'm moving into maintenance reasons. And maintenance reasons would reflect whenever you're putting a room out of order or out of service. So whenever you're putting a room in either of these statuses, the system would ask you to add a maintenance reason. You would be able to add this, but this is an option. You will always be able to add a comment whenever you're putting a room out of order or out of service. This would just be an additional piece of information that would be shown on the room status. So these could be generic reasons as shown here. And then from whenever you put a room out of order or out of service, which we're going to have a look at in a minute as well, you'll be able to add additional comments on the specifics of the reason. Whenever I move back into rooms, the last section I want to discuss here is housekeeping sections. And this is where you'll be able to determine if you are working with sections within your housekeeping team, how many sections you'd like to set up, and which rooms belong to which section. So we'll be able to say, well, I'm going to add a new section here, section 1, description, section 1, saving the changes, and then moving into managing rooms, where then the sections would be shown on the left-hand side, and I'll be able to assign the rooms that I'd like to add to these sections that I have set up. Whenever you're using sections, the system would take that into account whenever you're using the auto assignment segment of the PMS. So then if, for example, I always work in section 1, the system would only assign me the rooms that are part of this section. So once you have set these items up, you can actually set up your housekeeping users to be found under hotel and staff and then user setup. But before I move into how to set up a user, I want to show you where to find the user roles that would be applicable. If you click on user roles, the 2 user roles that would be applicable to housekeeping and maintenance users would be floor maintenance manager and floor maintenance staff. Determining what these users would be able to do is set up from your permissions, but your floor maintenance staff would regularly be your housekeepers. Floor maintenance managers would either be your supervisors or managers that would be putting your rooms into inspected and checking rooms from there. On the right-hand side, you can determine the dashboard that they would see whenever they log into the system. They're both set to housekeeping. We have 3 sets of dashboards that you could choose from: front desk, housekeeping, or manager. Housekeeping would show all relevant information for housekeeping users, such as the housekeeping statuses, which tasks have been assigned, and relevant information on departures, arrival, and stayovers. Front desk would show both housekeeping and information on your guest itself, and manager would show both, so front desk and housekeeping information. I'm just leaving it at housekeeping for now. But when I move back into hotel and staff and then permissions, this is where I'll determine for the floor maintenance manager and floor maintenance staff what they would actually be able to do and which permissions I'd like to assign for this user by clicking, dragging, and dropping the permissions that I'd like to apply. So once I've set these up, I can move into hotel and staff and then move into user setup, where I'll be able to set up housekeeping users. And for this property, we have set up generic users shown here, such as H1, 2, and 3. So you'll be able to rotate your users according to these generic logins. When you click on Add New, you'll be able to set up a user, add a department, and add a working shift and housekeeping section. And as you can see, we've just set up this one section, which will then be reflected under this item here. Then we'll be able to set up and assign a role. So one role would actually be sufficient. So whenever you're adding users, you could set up housekeeping users with floor maintenance staff roles, and then your supervisors and managers would have your floor maintenance manager role. The dashboard would be automatically assigned according to the role that has been added. So in this case, that will be housekeeping. So moving away from the configuration of our housekeeping segment, I want to actually show you the front end of the system, to be found in your menu, which you can open up on the left-hand side, moving into housekeeping and then task management. We're starting at task management because I first want to assign the rooms, and then I'm logging in as a housekeeping user to show you what it would look like whenever we log in on a mobile device and how we can set up and change room statuses and go from there. Moving into task management, first I'll get a summary of our statuses of today. So we have in total departure cleaned 7 rooms. We have 8 rooms that were actually not cleaned yesterday. And furthermore, we do not have any linen changes, stayovers, or turn down service. Once I'm going to move into manage worksheets, I can let the system know how many team members I have working today by selecting the employees that would be applicable. I can deselect these here, close the tile here, and then the 4 remaining users would be shown. From here, I can click on the auto assign toggle. And as I've set to assign per employee, it would assign according to the number of rooms. And as the first user already has 1 clean room, every user has 3 rooms, and I can move the remaining 3 rooms by clicking, dragging, and dropping them to the users that I would like to assign them to. I can also do that for the rooms that have been automatically assigned. So I can say, well, I want to actually change or move around a few rooms. Once you agree with the worksheet that has been set up, don't forget to save on the right-hand side. You can always use this funnel here to apply particular filters, such as rooms, front office statuses, such as vacant or occupied, or reservation statuses. You can also filter on work types. These would be the work types that we have set up from our configuration where we were just looking at. And from here, you'll also be able to print out your worksheets. And these would be printed according to the number of employees that you had selected. You can choose to either print on ascending or descending order, by room or task. So once the tasks have been assigned, I'm going to log in as a housekeeping user to show you what that would look like and what it would look like on a mobile device. So I'm going to log out of this user, and I'm going to log in as one of the generic housekeeping users. So whenever you would access on a desktop or a tablet, this is what you would see. So this is the Housekeeping Dashboard as referred to here on top. First, I have information on my rooms, then on my occupancy, and then on my guests. If I just make my screen a bit smaller, you will find that the dashboard would change. This is what it would look like whenever I log in on a mobile device. So I would see my rooms, occupancy, and guests, but then in a more summarized view. If I would open up my menu, you would also find that the menu would only consist out of housekeeping focused segments, so room status only in this case. And as I've logged in as a housekeeping user, I will only find the rooms that have been assigned to my user. I have a floor and maintenance staff user assigned to my login, so therefore I will only be able to see the rooms that have been assigned to me. Supervisors and managers will be able to see all rooms and to which they have been assigned. From here, I'll be able to change room statuses, and this is done by clicking on these toggles here and then using the purple pencil to change multiple rooms at once. However, you might want to have your housekeepers show whenever they're working in a particular room, and therefore, if they access room 35, they'll be able to start the cleaning session by clicking on the start toggle and identify once they have done with cleaning. Whenever they hit the done toggle, the room would automatically change to that completion status that we had set up in the configuration. So in this case, clean. Moving back into the overview, we'll also find that the rooms are now ticked off, as you can see here, so now completed. They're left clean because then the supervisor or manager can move in and change the room to inspect it from there. If I would move into one particular room, this room has a guest in-house, I can move into this profile section here to find which guest it is and at what time the guest would be departing. This guest in particularly is a VIP guest and has stayed 35 times prior in this particular hotel. When I move into this little hand, I can change the room status on a room level or change it to do not disturb. If I change it to do not disturb, you can see that the color would change. And when I move right in here, it would also be reflected on my worksheet. So then my supervisor or manager would know that this particular room would be a do not disturb room. If I move right back in, I can also change that again to clean, for example. And when I move into this toggle here, I would be able to either put the room out of order or out of service. Any actions that have been taken on this particular room are recorded. So every single change, every single item will be found under the activity log here. When I enlarge my screen, so when I move back and then enlarge my screen, I'll find my rooms, but then when I move into my dashboard, I'll find additional information. And what the user will be able to see whenever they log in on a desktop or a tablet is determined by their permission. So when you would open up your menu, I can find all of these segments here, but this is not here by default. It really depends on what you have set up the user to be able to do and see in the system. If I now move into housekeeping and then room status, I'll find the rooms assigned to my user. And I'll be able to move right in and review the same aspects of the rooms that we've just reviewed in the mobile view. So the mobility view or the enlarged view would actually show the exact same details. So now when I move back into my admin user, so I'm going to sign out of my housekeeping user and I'm going to move back into my admin user to show you what the changes that we just actually applied would look like in the PMS. Let's have a look here. Sorry, wrong email. Should be fine now. All right. So as I'm now logged in as an admin user, I can move right back into my menu, look into housekeeping and then room status. And from here, I'll be able to find the room statuses and the changes that have been applied. I'll also be able to find to which rooms to which housekeepers the rooms have been assigned. So as you can see here, we have housekeeper 4. I can also switch to task, which would then show exactly to whom the room has been assigned and what the actual cleaning task would be. When I'm just scrolling down, I will be able to also review any changes made, such as the rooms that have already been set to clean. And this is all managed in real time. So whenever the housekeepers are working on the floors and they are working on a mobile device, whenever they make any changes to the rooms, this would be an instant change, meaning that the housekeeping supervisor or manager would be updated instantly on any changes that would occur. From here, we'll be able to switch back to room. I will be able to use this funnel to apply certain filters, such as a housekeeping status, a reservation status, or a front office status. I'll also be able to segment according to room type. Or if I only want to review a particular floor or multiple floors, I'll be able to use this filter to apply and pull a certain type of report that I'm looking for. So if I'm only looking for dirty rooms and then apply that filter, the system would show me those rooms here, and I'll be able to pull a list by clicking on this print toggle and print it out or save it from here. If I apply or change the filters here, so I'm just going to remove the filter so all rooms are visible, I'll be able to actually select multiple rooms to which the purple pencil will appear, and I'll be able to change all of these rooms right away into, let's say, pickup status and then confirm. Or whenever I move into one particular room, I'll be able to say, okay, I'm moving into the room toggle here, and then putting the room out of order or out of service. And the difference between the two is that out of order will deduct from your inventory and out of service will not deduct from your inventory. Let's say that we want to put this room out of order. You will find that the room would change into a gray color, identifying to you that the room is either out of service or out of order. And from here, you can determine the date range. So from here, you'll be able to say, okay, I want to put this room out of order till the end of the month. I want the room to return after this period of time in a dirty status because I want to check the room before it is put back into inventory. And this is where those reasons will pop up. So the reasons that we had just had a look at, these are the reasons that will populate here, allowing you to, all right, say, yeah, there is a painting job that needs to be done because it is a model room, and therefore I want to put it out of order till the end of the month. So now once it has been changed and I move back into room status, this is where we'll be able to find that the room has now changed to a out of order status, and you'll find the date range as well. So here you'll find that it's out of order till the 31st of May. Furthermore, when I move back into the room details, we have an activity log again. So you'll find exactly what has been taken place by whom. So on the left-hand side, you have the username, date and time of the change, the action that has taken place, the status that was the initial status, and then the room status that might have changed into a particular server status. So it would differentiate between cleaning statuses and out of order or out of service statuses. So that's our session today on housekeeping. We have covered how to set up housekeeping segments from the configuration side, and then we had a look at the front end of the system, which is to be found under your menu, housekeeping, and then room status and task management. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Britt. Thank you, Britt, for that insightful presentation. I'd now like to turn over the floor for questions. Remember, you can submit questions in the question box in the middle of the control panel. So I don't see any questions right now. I'll give everyone a few seconds to enter those. All right, I'm not seeing any questions right now, so let me switch back to my screen. So today we covered the following topics: housekeeping configuration, task management, electronic task assignments, do not disturb status, and room status. With that, I'd like to conclude our presentation. Thank you all for coming, and if you have any additional questions, feel free to email me at erin.fisher@stayintouch.com. Thanks again.